Sometimes God gives us instructions that the world can't understand. They might sound unusual, even strange. But when you are the chosen one, your life doesn't follow the patterns of the crowd. There will be days when the Spirit whispers something specific. Don't go there today. Stay home. Wait a little longer. And if you have ears to hear, you'll know these are not ordinary words. Wednesday is not just another day on the calendar. In the heavenly realm, it can be a divine appointment or a divine protection. God can see what you cannot. He sees the storms before the clouds gather. He hears conversations before the words are even spoken. He knows the traps before they're set. And if he tells you to stay in, it's not to limit your freedom, it's to protect your purpose. The chosen ones are set apart. You carry an assignment on your life, and the enemy would love to distract, delay, or even destroy that assignment. That's why sometimes God will ask you to step back when the world is stepping forward. He'll ask you to stay in the secret place, because the secret place is where your strength is renewed. Obedience is the currency of the kingdom. You may not understand the why right now. You may feel restless, even impatient. But every time you obey, you are building trust between you and God. Every time you obey, you are aligning yourself with heaven's plan. Maybe Wednesday is the day the enemy planned to send temptation your way. Maybe Wednesday is the day an accident was waiting on the road. Maybe Wednesday is the day someone was going to speak words that would plant doubt in your heart. But because you listened, because you stayed, you avoided what could have shaken you. The world calls it coincidence. But those who walk with God call it divine intervention. The hand of God moves in ways we cannot trace, and yet his voice still calls to us. My child, trust me enough to stay where I have placed you. So when Wednesday comes, don't see it as a restriction. See it as a rescue. Don't see it as God taking away your day. See it as him giving you life. Remember, the chosen one doesn't need the approval of the crowd to follow the voice of the shepherd. Your obedience today is your protection tomorrow. When you stay in the place he tells you to stay, you are already walking in victory because you are walking in his will. Stay in, rest in him, and know that when God says, not today, it's because he's preparing you for the days that truly matter. When God gives you an instruction, it will not always fit into human logic or societal patterns. There are times he will speak something to your heart that makes no sense to those around you. They will question it, mock it, or even try to talk you out of it. But when you are in tune with the Spirit, you understand that God's thoughts are higher than yours, and his ways are far above human reasoning. Sometimes he tells you to take a route you have never taken before. Sometimes he tells you to slow down when you want to speed up. And sometimes he tells you not to step outside at all. To the natural mind, that may feel strange, even unnecessary, but to the spiritual mind, it is an act of obedience that could shape the course of your life. The chosen one is marked by sensitivity to God's voice. You don't operate by the news headlines, the crowd's opinion, or even your own emotions. You operate by what he says. This is where faith becomes real, because following God's instruction is easy when it aligns with your plans. But the real test is when his instruction interrupts your plans. It is in these moments that you reveal whether you trust him fully or only when it's convenient. When he says, stay home, you don't need to know all the reasons. You simply trust that the one who created time and space sees something you cannot see. The unusual nature of his instructions is often a sign of their divine origin. If it always made sense to you in the moment, it wouldn't require faith. God wants you to walk by faith, not by sight, because sight limits you to what is visible, but faith opens you to what is possible. Faith believes that even if you can't connect the dots now, the dots are already connected in God's plan. Faith says, I may not know why, but I know who is speaking to me, and that's enough. When you choose to obey, even when it feels unnecessary, you are saying to God, your word is more valuable to me than my comfort, my plans, and my understanding. And every time you take that posture, you open the door for divine intervention in your life. The truth is, some of the greatest blessings in your life have come not from what you understood, but from what you obeyed without understanding. You may never know the danger you avoided, the trap you sidestepped, or the loss you prevented simply because you listened to that quiet nudge in your spirit. God's unusual instructions are not meant to confuse you. They are meant to protect you, position you, and prepare you. The chosen ones must learn to live by them. When he tells you something that seems out of the ordinary, that's often because he's moving in ways that ordinary people cannot see. You are not called to be ordinary. You are set apart for his purposes. That means you will live in a way that others can't always explain. And that's okay. You're not living for their understanding. You're living for his approval. So the next time he gives you an unusual instruction, whether it's to speak, to wait, to move, or to stay still, embrace it. Don't filter it through human logic before you decide to obey. Instead, remember that his unusual ways have a supernatural purpose. You may not see the full picture today, but obedience now is an investment into the safety, blessing, and destiny that God has already prepared for you. The chosen one knows that God's strange command is always better than the world's clever suggestion. And in the end, you'll look back and realize that what seemed unusual was actually the very thing that kept you in the center of his will. Divine protection is one of the most powerful ways God demonstrates his love for his children. There are moments in life when the ordinary becomes extraordinary, not because of what we do, but because of what God allows or prevents. There are days when stepping out into the world seems normal, routine even, but in reality, God may have a different plan. A plan to shield you from unseen harm or redirect you towards something greater. Protection is not always visible. It doesn't always come with flashing lights or clear signs. Often it comes as a gentle whisper in your heart, a subtle urging to pause, to wait, to stay. It comes as a quiet voice saying, not today, my child. Stay where you are. The chosen one must understand that these instructions are not restrictions. They are shields. There are dangers that the eye cannot see, challenges that the mind cannot predict, and attacks that the heart cannot anticipate. When God instructs you to stay home, he is not taking away your freedom. He is giving you life. There may be accidents that could have occurred on the road, confrontations that could have shaken your faith, or temptations that could have taken root in your heart. God sees all of these before they even happen. His protection is always proactive, never reactive. He does not wait for disaster to strike. He warns and guides beforehand, keeping you within the safety of his plan. On days like Wednesday, which may seem ordinary to the world, God's wisdom can transform them into extraordinary moments of divine intervention. The chosen one doesn't rely on chance or luck. They rely on God's guidance. God knows the traffic you will encounter, the words that will be spoken, the encounters that could distract or derail your purpose. And so when he says, stay in, it is a divine strategy, a way to protect the mission he has entrusted to you. Sometimes staying home is not about inactivity. It is about positioning. It is about resting in his presence, recharging your spirit, and preparing yourself for the battles you will face tomorrow. Protection through obedience also teaches trust. When God instructs you to remain in a place of safety, it is an invitation to trust him fully. Trusting God means believing that he sees more than we do, that his timing is perfect, and that his understanding surpasses our own. When we obey his guidance, even when we cannot see the reasons, we demonstrate faith. This faith builds a deeper relationship with him. It tells God, I believe that you know what is best for me, even when I do not understand it. Every time you follow his instructions, you strengthen your alignment with his plan. And in doing so, you activate his protection over every area of your life. Furthermore, divine protection is not just about avoiding danger. It is about creating space for growth and purpose. The moments we spend obeying his voice are often the moments in which God works behind the scenes. Perhaps he is arranging opportunities that we cannot yet see, preparing people to bless us, or positioning us for breakthroughs that will come at exactly the right time. Staying within God's boundaries is not limiting. It is liberating. It allows you to fulfill your purpose without unnecessary detours, distractions, or harm. Finally, the chosen one recognizes that God's protection is an expression of love. When he instructs you to stay home, to avoid a path or to wait, it is because he values your life, your destiny, and the mission he has placed within you. Obedience brings safety, faith brings peace, and trust brings alignment with a God who never makes mistakes. What may seem like an ordinary Wednesday can become a day of divine preservation, a day that shapes your future, and a day that reminds you that the hand of God is always watching over his children. The more you embrace his protection, the more you walk in confidence, knowing that your life is being guided, guarded, and directed by the one who chose you for greatness. Being chosen by God comes with a calling, a purpose that sets you apart from the crowd. It is not a casual designation, nor is it something that fits neatly into the patterns of ordinary life. The chosen one is marked by a responsibility that requires vigilance, discernment, and obedience. To live as one who is chosen means that you do not operate according to the world's timetable or societal expectations. You have a unique assignment that only you can fulfill, and the enemy knows this. That is why stepping out at the wrong time or following the path of the crowd can lead to delay, distraction, or even danger. God has a plan for the chosen ones, and he orchestrates circumstances to ensure that his purpose is fulfilled. The world does not always understand what it means to be set apart. People will question why you act differently, why you follow instructions that seem unusual, or why you wait when they are moving forward. But the chosen one cannot live for the approval of the world. You live for the approval of God. Your life is a testimony of his guidance, his protection, and his faithfulness. The chosen one walks a path that may seem lonely at times, but it is precisely in that path of obedience that God's power and wisdom become evident. Being set apart also means that the enemy will attempt to interfere with your purpose. There are spiritual forces that oppose God's plans, and they target those who are carrying divine assignments. The chosen one must learn to recognize the subtleties of these attacks. Sometimes the threat is visible, like a confrontation or a dangerous situation. Other times it is invisible, like temptation, discouragement, or distraction. God, however, sees the beginning from the end. He knows where the traps are set, and he provides guidance to avoid them. That is why following his instructions, even when they contradict natural reasoning, is essential. It is not a limitation, it is a lifeline. God's instructions are often counterintuitive. To the world, staying home, waiting, or pausing may appear as hesitation or inactivity. But to the chosen one, it is strategic obedience. Every moment of compliance aligns your life with his perfect timing and prepares you for the opportunities he has planned. When he says, "Stay in today," it is not to confine you. It is to position you for victory. Every act of obedience, no matter how small it seems, carries weight in the spiritual realm. God's power is activated in the lives of those who walk in alignment with his will. The chosen one also learns patience. Purpose cannot be rushed, and destiny is not achieved through haste. God's timing is perfect, and he orchestrates events according to a divine schedule. When you honor his timing, you protect your mission from being derailed by premature decisions or unnecessary risks. Trusting in his timing requires faith, and faith grows when you witness the fulfillment of his promises in your life. The path of the chosen one is not always easy, but it is purposeful, and it produces fruit that lasts. Finally, being set apart is a privilege. It is a reminder that God sees you, values you, and has a plan that the world cannot replicate. Every instruction, every pause, and every moment of waiting is an expression of his love and care. The chosen one embraces these moments with gratitude, knowing that obedience is not limitation, but liberation. By living differently, walking carefully, and trusting fully, the chosen one experiences the fullness of God's protection, provision, and guidance. Your life becomes a testament to his wisdom, and your journey reflects the hand of a God who chooses, protects, and prepares those he calls. The chosen one does not follow the crowd. The chosen one follows God. And in following him, every step becomes sacred, every decision guided, and every day a part of a divine plan that will manifest in victory, blessing, and purpose beyond measure. Obedience is one of the most powerful expressions of faith. Yet it is often one of the most challenging practices for the chosen ones. It is easy to obey when God's instructions align with our desires, or when his guidance feels convenient and straightforward. But true obedience is tested when his direction conflicts with our plans, our comfort, or even our understanding. It is in these moments that the heart of the chosen one is revealed. For obedience is not merely about following rules. It is about trusting the one who holds your life, your future, and your destiny in his hands. When God speaks, every instruction carries purpose, and every act of compliance becomes a building block of trust. Trust is not built in the absence of challenges. It is built in moments of uncertainty. When God says to stay in today, it may feel restrictive, unnecessary, or even frustrating. But obedience in such moments demonstrates that your faith is not dependent on convenience. The chosen one recognizes that God's wisdom surpasses human understanding. He sees the whole picture, the beginning and the end, the seen and the unseen. Our role is not to question the mechanics of his plan, but to respond with a willing heart. Obedience, even when it seems inconvenient, aligns you with the divine timing and positions you to receive his blessings fully. Every act of obedience has a ripple effect in the spiritual realm. Small choices matter. Simple acts like staying home when prompted can prevent encounters with danger, avert distractions, or protect the assignment God has placed in your hands. The enemy works to interfere with God's plans through subtle means, often disguised as ordinary circumstances. Yet God's instructions, when followed, act as a shield. The chosen one does not walk blindly. They walk in divine alignment, trusting that every no or wait from God is a form of protection, guidance, and preparation. This obedience is not passive. It is active faith, a conscious decision to place God's wisdom above human reasoning. Obedience also cultivates patience and humility. Life moves fast, and the world often rewards haste, impulsiveness, and immediate gratification. But God's plan unfolds in perfection, not in speed. By choosing to obey, the chosen one learns to wait, to trust, and to rely fully on divine timing. Every delayed opportunity, every instructed pause, and every moment of waiting is a lesson in trusting God's process. It teaches that his ways are higher and his timing is flawless. The chosen one experiences growth, spiritual maturity, and insight through obedience that the world cannot replicate. Moreover, obedience brings peace. The mind of the chosen one may wrestle with doubts, questions, and impatience, but when God's instructions are followed, there is an inner assurance that comes from walking in alignment with his will. Peace is not the absence of challenges. It is the presence of God's guidance and protection. By obeying, the chosen one demonstrates faith that transcends circumstance, and this faith becomes a source of strength, resilience, and confidence. Finally, obedience is a testimony. When others see the chosen one responding faithfully to God's voice, even when it defies human logic, it inspires faith and admiration. It demonstrates a life lived with purpose, a heart attuned to heaven, and a spirit willing to trust beyond understanding. Obedience positions the chosen one to receive God's full provision, protection, and favor. It transforms ordinary actions into sacred steps, ordinary days into divine appointments, and ordinary choices into pathways for destiny fulfillment. In the end, the chosen one understands that obedience is not a limitation. It is liberation. Every instruction from God, every moment of waiting, and every act of compliance is an investment in the life he has designed for you. Obedience strengthens trust, ensures protection, and aligns your life with the divine will. It is the foundation upon which God's blessings, guidance, and miracles are built. By obeying even when it is difficult, the chosen one walks confidently in the knowledge that following God's voice is always the path to victory, purpose, and fulfillment. The unseen dangers of life are often the most threatening because they are invisible to the human eye. We plan our days, follow routines, and trust our judgment. Yet there are forces at work beyond what we can perceive. God, in his infinite wisdom, sees all that is hidden from us. He knows the moments of vulnerability, the subtle traps, and the distractions that could derail our destiny. For the chosen one, following his guidance is not optional. It is essential. When he tells you to stay in, it is not arbitrary. It is a shield against forces that could harm you physically, emotionally, or spiritually. Obedience in these moments becomes an act of protection, safeguarding both your life and your calling. The chosen one carries a responsibility that extends beyond personal comfort or preference. Every decision has consequences, not just for the present, but for the future. The enemy knows the potential within a chosen life and will attempt to exploit any moment of disobedience or distraction. Temptations, conflicts, and unexpected events are often strategically placed to slow down, discourage, or misdirect God's instructions even when they seem inconvenient, serve as a protective barrier. By staying in when instructed, you avoid encounters that could shake your faith, impede your progress, or cause loss. Divine protection is subtle but powerful, and the chosen one recognizes its value. Obedience to God's voice also cultivates discernment. When you learn to respond to his guidance, you develop a spiritual sensitivity that allows you to recognize danger before it manifests. You begin to understand that not every opportunity is beneficial, not every invitation is safe, and not every path leads to your purpose. God's instructions help you navigate life with wisdom, steering you away from what could harm you and toward what aligns with his plan. The chosen one does not rely on human foresight alone. They rely on divine insight, understanding that God's knowledge surpasses human perception. The protective nature of obedience is also an act of faith. It requires trust in the unseen, confidence in God's timing, and a willingness to submit to his plan. The chosen one may not see the accident avoided, the confrontation prevented, or the mistake sidestepped, but faith assures that these protections are real. Each act of obedience, no matter how small it appears, contributes to the fulfillment of God's purposes. By choosing to trust, the chosen one experiences safety not as a result of chance, but as a result of alignment with God's will. Remaining in the place God directs also allows for preparation and spiritual growth. Moments of stillness, waiting, or retreat are not empty. They are filled with divine work. God uses these times to strengthen your character, renew your spirit, and equip you for the tasks ahead. While the world may see inactivity, God sees positioning. He prepares you to walk into situations fully ready, fully protected, and fully aligned with his purpose. The chosen one understands that God's stay is a strategic pause that ensures victory rather than defeat. Finally, the chosen one understands that protection through obedience is a reflection of God's love. It is not punishment or limitation. It is care, concern, and divine foresight. When he instructs you to stay in, it is because he values your life, your mission, and the impact you are meant to have. Every instruction, every moment of compliance, and every act of faith is an opportunity to experience his protection, his guidance, and his blessings. By following God's voice, even in unseen circumstances, the chosen one walks confidently, knowing that they are safeguarded, positioned, and prepared for the fulfillment of their divine purpose. In every day and every moment, the chosen one learns that God's instructions are shields and obedience is armor. The unseen dangers are real, but they are powerless against the life aligned with God's will. By staying in, trusting, and obeying, the chosen one experiences protection, peace, and preparation that the world cannot offer. Obedience is not just a choice. It is a strategy for divine security and a path to victory that fulfills the calling placed upon their life. God's no, or his instruction to pause, is often misunderstood. Human nature wants to interpret restrictions as limitations, delays as setbacks, or waiting as failure. But the chosen one knows that every divine no is a form of rescue. When God tells you not to proceed, not to go, or not to act in a certain way, it is not rejection. It is protection. It is an act of love from the Creator who sees the whole picture, who knows the end before the beginning, and who values your life and purpose more than anyone else ever could. Understanding this truth transforms the way the chosen one approaches every instruction from God, seeing it not as a hindrance, but as a lifeline. Life is full of unseen threats. The world moves fast and dangers often arrive when least expected. There are accidents on the roads, conflicts waiting in social encounters, words spoken that wound the heart, and opportunities that carry hidden consequences. God in his omniscience knows all of these. He sees what you cannot see. He knows the storms, the traps, and the distractions. That is why at times he instructs you to stay in, to wait, or to avoid a path that seems normal to everyone else. The chosen one understands that obedience in these moments is not a limitation of freedom, but a divine redirection towards safety, purpose, and blessing. Divine guidance is often disguised as stillness. When God tells you a not today or a stay here, it is an invitation to trust him fully. Trust is a central element of faith because it acknowledges that God's perspective surpasses human understanding. Obedience becomes a declaration that you believe God knows what is best for your life, even when the reasoning is unclear. The chosen one practices patience and reliance on divine timing, recognizing that every no from God carries a purpose beyond what the human mind can comprehend. Every divine restriction carries hidden benefits. By staying in, the chosen one avoids distractions that could derail their calling. They avoid encounters that could plant seeds of doubt, fear, or temptation. They avoid accidents, confrontations, and unnecessary loss. What the world sees as coincidence or luck is, in reality, God's protective hand at work. The chosen one learns to see these moments as evidence of his care, proof that God's guidance is perfect and his timing flawless. By embracing his no, they are positioned for a greater yes in the future, opportunities, breakthroughs, and blessings that could never be realized through haste or disobedience. The chosen one also understands that divine no's are preparatory. God often uses waiting periods, restrictions, or pauses to prepare his children for future assignments. While the world views these as idle moments, God uses them for spiritual growth, character development, and alignment with his plan. The chosen one learns to rest in him, to cultivate patience, and to seek his presence in moments of stillness. These periods of waiting become sacred spaces where God strengthens, equips, and positions his child for success. Ultimately, God's instructions, including his no's, are acts of love and protection. They are not punishments or limitations, but demonstrations of his care and foresight. The chosen one knows that every restriction is designed to protect life, ensure safety, and align them with his will. By obeying, trusting, and staying within God's guidance, they walk a path of divine preservation and victory. The chosen one lives confidently in the knowledge that God's no is always better than the world's yes. When God restricts, pauses, or redirects, it is a rescue, a preparation, and a blessing in disguise. Understanding this allows the chosen one to move through life with peace, assurance, and unwavering faith, knowing that obedience positions them for fulfillment, protection, and divine favor. In every no from God, there is a hidden yes awaiting, a promise of purpose, a path to victory, and a life fully aligned with the Creator who chose them.